You're on with open season. Who do we have?
Adam Jones.
Hey, Adam. How's it going? How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Hey, doing so well. It was great to meet you the other night at Apex. And you had a pretty good show earlier. So I know it definitely pains you to be on in a situation where Marcus Smart has an ankle injury. So I definitely appreciate you for being able to fight through it and get on.
It's no problem. You know, I'm willing to soldier through whatever. It was nice meeting you the other night at Apex as well.
So, hey, we were just kind of talking about it, and I guess I'll start off with last week. You know, as we're a Tuesday show, getting around to some of the things from Thursday. So, if I can put you back, do you think the NFL? Do you think they got the Myles Garrett? Do you think they got the mele, the suspensions that came out of that? Do you think they got that right, Adam?
I mean, largely I do. I mean, I think the league always is waiting to see which way, public sentiment blows on a certain topic. So, like, I think the fact that it's an indefinite suspension is a little odd, just that they're going to see how it all plays out, whether or not it dies down. I know they want to meet with Myles Garrett in the offseason, but I think the rest of the year is sufficient. You know, the Browns aren't making the playoffs, so he misses the final 6 games of the year. And I think that's right. You know, he's not a repeat offender. What he did was heinous. You know, what he did was awful. But I think the rest of this year is a reasonable thing to send him away for. I'm sure you've seen today, it's the 15-year anniversary of the
Malice in the Palace.
Yep. That was the rest of the season, a suspension for Ron Artest. I think it ended up being 86 games. But he was sent away for the rest of the year, 73 regular season games and then another 13 in the playoffs or something like that. So I think there's some precedent. I mean, if it was the final week of the year, I'd say it'd have to bleed over to the next season. But I think send him away for the rest of this year, bring him back next year. And if he's ever a repeat offender, well, then you really got to lower the boom on him. But for this, I think they actually mostly got it right outside of the kind of nebulous indefinite suspension piece to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just to hit on that, the Marquise Pouncey getting suspended 3 games, did you agree with that part too, Adam?
So fair question. Most of my commentary there was on Garrett. Pouncey might have been a little high just because he's going to bat for his quarterback and sticking up for a teammate. I think he needed to be suspended, but what did he end up with? 3? That's probably a little excessive. Maybe he should have gotten a game or 2, but yet 3 is probably high.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit high myself. Now, getting into the Kapernick, all the stuff about Kapernick, obviously we have to talk about. I don't really want to talk about it, but you just have to talk about the Kapernick workout. And
sure.
I guess for you, was there anything that you really took away from it? I mean, Eric Reed had said that Kaepernick did what he wanted to do. He came out, he showed that he could play. But I guess before, I felt like nobody was really willing to go in and sign him. Afterwards, we're sitting here, no one's really willing to go in and sign him. Did we take anything away from the Kaepernick workouts?
I mean, in terms of his return to football, no. I mean, I think people know what he is, and what he was, which is probably not the most accurate quarterback, but I think he's more accurate than he gets credit for. And, I think who knows what's happened over the last 3 years, but I think when he walked away, he was a bottom 10 starting quarterback in the NFL, which would make him a high-level backup, which would make him a ridiculously good third-string quarterback. Now, do you want to bring over the sideshow that's going to come along with Colin Kaepernick on your roster? Like, I understand that teams don't want to do that, but if we're just talking about strictly what he's capable of in terms of his talent, that's roughly where I felt he was. So, I mean, I think he's kept himself in shape. It looks like, and he's throwing against no defense, and, he's throwing in a highly structured environment where he was able to pick that out once they left the NFL's planned workout and went with their receivers and their facility and everything else. So, I mean, I think most guys are going to look good throwing against air in a structured environment like that. But I think from a football standpoint, there's not much to take away. The thing never passed the smell test for me and most people. And I would instruct you, if you haven't already, or your listeners, to go check out what Charles Robinson wrote today at Yahoo Sports. It seems like what the league wanted to do, and I'm sure you've seen that Kaepernick and his camp put up a big stink about the waiver that the NFL made him sign.
Exactly. Yeah.
Basically, what the NFL wanted to do was one of two things. They either wanted him to sign this waiver where he would be signing away really any future litigation against the NFL, any future suits against the NFL, they'd be protected against this, or they'd get what they got. which I think was the runner-up situation. I think they wanted him to sign this waiver and protect themselves against future litigation. But what they got was a nice runner-up, which was Colin Kaepernick, as something they can spin into him, looking shady, looking like he didn't want the moment, looking like a baby and wanting things on his own terms, which I don't agree with, by the way. But I think people are doing that on behalf of the NFL, kind of spinning it that way. And I think that's what the NFL got out of it. So it really was, as Robinson described it today, kind of a win-win for the league. And I think that's what they got out of it. What Kaepernick got out of it, I'm sure nothing. I mean, maybe the viewing public saw that he can still do certain things that they believed he could, but I don't think he's going to get a job out of it, not by a long shot. Yeah,
and I agree with you there. And I guess we'll get you out of here on one more. We'll keep it with football because we're going pretty hot on that. How about you think there's any? So for me, after looking at this Eagles game this weekend with the Patriots, a lot of people kind of came away from it saying that the defense looked great, but if you pull back some of the pieces, the Eagles missing a lot of skill players, and the Pats offense, you've got Antonio Brown crying to come back. You think there's sizable issues with this Pats offense moving forward?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, I talked about this a little bit earlier tonight. Like, I don't think they can hang with the Chiefs and Ravens consecutively, offensively. And I think their defense will do a little bit to limit those teams. They didn't do much against Baltimore earlier this year, but I'm sure they'd be improved there. They've been able to quiet the Chiefs for a half the last two times they played them, both last year. We'll see in a few weeks how they do against the Chiefs in a regular season environment. But if they have to go Chiefs divisional round, and regardless of how they looked on Monday Night Football, Kansas City's an explosive offense. Mahomes is, I still think the toughest quarterback to defend in the NFL. Then the Ravens, who already shredded them back-to-back, I don't think the offense can hang in that type of situation. And I think the defense is really good in 2019. I don't know if it's historically great.
Right.
So if it's not a historically great defense, can they carry this offense to a Super Bowl? I don't believe so. They're going to have to change what they do over the final 6 weeks of the year, which in fairness they did last year. I think that's really hard to do as a one-off. It's even more difficult to do 2 years consecutively. So I'm not holding my breath on that.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with you. To do it 2 years, to scheme it up, especially with a limited personnel, probably doesn't seem as likely as last year where they were able to kind of get everyone off base. Well, hey, Adam, we really appreciate you clearing a little bit of your schedule, making some time for us tonight. And it was great to meet you the other night, and hopefully we can get you to call in another time. But enjoy the rest of your night, and take care. We appreciate the call.
All right. Thank you, Billy.
All right. Thank you. So great stuff out of Adam Jones there, of the Adam Jones Show on 98.5. If you don't already, he's definitely a must listen. But, some pretty tough